From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Carr Night Show starring Nolan. We're going to join Nolan as guest this week, Yianni Kourakis, to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. With me this week is a wonderful person, a great guest for the show. He used to be around, now he's down south in a place that has way much better weather than my home state. I'm so appreciative of him coming on this week. He's the one and only Yianni Kourakis. How are you doing this week, sir?
Doing great. How are you? Yeah, I'm enjoying the weather now that it's turning up where you are. I'm actually going to play golf today, which I haven't done much of, believe it or not, because I've been busy with work and the kids and everything. But I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm not too happy that it's getting darker now around 6 o'clock back here in Rhode Island compared to I'm sure down Florida it's much more sunnier and more warm.
So you guys are more east, so it gets darker earlier, but it's still starting. We're like 7 o'clock right now, which is weird because it's you think nice weather means longer days, but they still, it's still the East Coast at the end of the day.
Well, I remember I haven't been down to Florida in a while. My grandparents used to have a place in Vero Beach, which is a few hours south or north where it is of Orlando.
It's in our viewing area, Vero Beach. Yeah, it's on what they call the Treasure Coast.
And they ended up selling the place, but I remember I'd go see some high school lacrosse, and it'd be 75 degrees at 7 o'clock at night, and we don't get that back in Rhode Island till during the summertime. So coming around October, it's gonna get colder, and that's not the case down there. So I'm sure after all the time spent in Rhode Island, you're looking forward to not having to wear a lot of winter clothes.
Yeah. I'm not going to miss the winters, I don't think, but I'll miss the summers because here in the summer, it's really hot and humid. Yeah. So we're going to try to, when we come back to Rhode Island to see family and friends, we're going to try to do that in the summer, take advantage of Rhode Island summers.
Yeah, it's not fun as someone from Rhode Island when you go down to Florida and you get out of Orlando International Airport and it's 80 degrees and 1,000% humidity. It's not the most but fun. Well, as we're talking about Florida, so how's that going now that you're down there fully functioning and off the ground running?
Yeah, it's been good. I really like my station, my coworkers. It's, an adjustment after you do anything. I was at Channel 12 for nearly 8 years. So, different systems, different shows. I'm in a different position. So like getting used to different day to day by and large, getting used to new teams. I was covering New England teams and teams in Rhode Island and teams that I knew so much about being from there, being a fan, where I'm coming here and I need to learn about all these teams. And I don't know the history as much as I did for the New England team. So there's been a learning curve, but I would say I'm up to speed. I'm glad I started, right before football season because that's the best time when you're covering sports. So yeah, it's good. The biggest adjustment in the summer was honestly the heat, like going to Dolphins practices in July when it was like 98 degrees with humidity was an adjustment. And not having as much invested personally, I grew up a Patriot fan. So covering the Patriots, I had like this fandom history of being a fan in addition to covering them professionally. So it's like before I worked in Rhode Island, I worked in Richmond. So it was similar. I didn't really root for any of the teams there. And I'm back to that situation out here in Florida.
If I can go, a little bit back before, you got, officially start with this. For you, what was going through your head? I mean, through that moment, once you finally applied and then you realized you got the job that you were going to be going somewhere new after all these years spent in Rhode Island.
Yeah, it was, I would say, stressful finding a job because I'm actually sweating here because I just got back from the gym. When you go to the gym and you like hop in the shower and then you don't like properly de-sweat. Yeah. I'm in that current status right now. So getting the job was a huge relief. We knew we were moving to Florida when my wife got a promotion. So I was networking and applying for jobs, probably no different than what you'll be doing trying to enter the field. But having been at PRI for so so long. You know, I was always looking when my contract was up to see if there's anything worth my while to leave WPRI for, but never to the point where I needed a job because I always had that job. So there was a certain stress level involved into trying to find a job. So the job I currently have, the timing was perfect because we were in a situation we wanted my daughter to finish first grade in East Greenwich at Frenchtown Elementary, where your mom is a PE teacher, and but school starts down here early in August, so we really had this 6-week window to move. So moving, you know, I've moved within Rhode Island, but moving from Rhode Island to Florida had its stresses, getting a job, getting the kids. So it was a big life move. So we are all settled in now, which is great. But I think back to trying to find a job, and it was because it's such a niche industry. It's not like sales or some other field where location doesn't matter, or like specific to what I do as a sports anchor for local TV, there's only 2-3 people at every station in a given market that do that. And there's 3 stations. So specific to what I do, let's say there's 10 people in every market who does that. Now, I was fortunate I could have moved anywhere in Florida. So I had other markets, you know, I could choose from, but in TV, people are under contract. So it's like there can be no turnover at a station for several years because people are under contract and they don't leave. So openings, good job openings in this field are few and far between. So I was lucky, and I like to think, you know, my resume, you know, and my qualifications gave me a leg up. So I was happy that it all worked out. How
much of what you did at WPRI12 is present in what you do currently at this new station?
Yeah, it's this. At the end of the day, it's the same thing. I'm anchoring, I'm reporting, I'm storytelling. I shoot a little bit more video down here than I did in PRI, just because we have a smaller staff. But it's all the same. It's like at the end of the day, you're a reporter and an anchor. So I'm producing a sportscast, or I'm going out and putting a story together. So instead of the Patriots, it's the Dolphins, or maybe instead of the Celtics, it's the Miami Heat, or instead of URI, it's FAU. So it's pretty much the same job. It's just different markets. So it's different teams.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, the different sports teams you're covering compared to Rhode Island, it was briefly mentioned. Now, back in Rhode Island, obviously growing up, you bared witness to some of the legendary teams in Rhode Island and New England sports, and then being able to cover them. Another thing, now down in Florida, the Dolphins haven't done as well as the Patriots, and the Marlins haven't done as well as the Red Sox, and so on and so forth. How much of it is, you know, I don't want to say an ego adjustment, but more the fact like these teams aren't doing as well, but you still have to, you know, do your best to cover them in a regular way?
Yeah. So I would say when I worked in markets prior to New England, you always want teams you cover to do well. You can't cheer for them because as a journalist, you're supposed to be objective. You cover the team, whether they're good or bad, but it's much more fun when teams are good.
Yeah.
The coaches and players are going to be more apt to give you information and good interviews, and the work environment, your work environment, which is their work environment, becomes better. So you always want the teams to do better. I was really fortunate for a great run of success with the Boston sports teams. URI, I went to the NCAA tournament twice for the basketball team. I went 3 times with Providence College. So even our little league teams in Rhode Island, we had a span of, I think, 5 and 6 years that went. So we had this huge run of success. So it's always fun when teams are doing well. I mean, I don't mean to sound jaded, but having covered a bunch of Super Bowls with the Patriots in so many good years, I didn't really enjoy covering the Patriots last year. Now, part of that was the pandemic. We weren't in person. Yeah. There were no fans at Gillette Stadium. We were doing Zoom calls as in person. It just was a weird year. Like it wasn't, so maybe that was more of a COVID thing than the Patriots stinking, but at 7-9, it was like, and then this year I'm covering the Dolphins pretty consistently. Like I'm down there every week, go to the home games, and now they're 1-3. And I'm just like, I'm hoping it's at least like, cause last year they were in contention for the playoffs. At least I hope they're competitive just to make my job interesting, because you don't want to go into their practice and press conference in week 14 and they're, 5-8 or whatever the case is. You want them to be competitive. So I think what Boston sports fans are so lucky because they have by and large really good ownership, and the fans hold the teams accountable. So like the Patriots' success, the Red Sox success, Celtics, Bruins, they all feed off of each other. In other words, none of those teams can afford to not care or to put out a bad product because the other teams have set the standard. So while the Heat have been really competitive in Miami for, years dating back to Dwayne Wade and Shaq prior to the LeBron era, Miami is, since Dan Marino left, has not been good.
Yeah.
The Marlins have won 2 World Series in 97 and 03, but by and large, always are not spending money. And the Florida Panthers made the playoffs last year, but they don't have a huge history of great success. So specific to the pro teams, I was lucky in New England. You hope teams you cover succeed because it just makes your job better.
On another note, which isn't the case for Rhode Island, so I guess Florida wins in this section of the T chart. High school sports, specifically football, is bigger than most pro teams in the South, and Florida it's pretty big as well. What was that like your first time covering high school sports or football in particular, if you're able to do that?
Yeah, high school football is huge here, and we do a big Friday night show, and I'm live at the game of the week every week at 6:00. It's good. They have more talent, so they have a lot of Division I kids. Like in Rhode Island, maybe there's 3 or 4 D1 kids a year, and that's not high D1. Like Quiddy Pay is the exception, right? So the talent level is good. High school football is like a coaching change at a high school here is like news. And the state is so big, you're sort of like, we're Palm Beach County in the Treasure Coast. Like, are our schools as good as, Miami and Broward County, which is Miami area, or the West Coast where Tampa is, or up where the Panhandle is? So the state is so big. There's so much competition. Whereas Rhode Island, and this is something that I actually really liked, because Rhode Island is so small, we could cover the whole state and know, all right, Hendricken and LaSalle are here, North Kingstown's here. Maybe Portsmouth is right here. So it was unique in that you cover the whole state for high school football, where here the teams that are good throughout the state at a big level, but the state's so big. I don't know if the team I'm covering on a Friday would beat a team in Orlando, because they don't play each other. But it's cool. It's really cool. Some big stadium. I haven't covered any, I know Texas has legit stadiums for high schools. They have big stands. I haven't been in a stadium yet, but that's been fun. High school football has been fun. We have a kid who's a freshman who has a scholarship to Alabama already. So, a lot of kids, with offers to Miami and Clemson and anywhere else. So that's been pretty cool so far.
When you first got started down there, and I probably should have asked this at the beginning, and it came down to that first story you had to give. Was there any moment where you're like, what the hell am I doing? Can I do this? Is this gonna be successful?
You mean nerves?
Yeah, like nerves or anything like that, where almost, I don't want to say prevented you from doing it, but made you second guess it.
No, I would never say. I've done this for so long. This is my 15th fall, which makes me feel old, but I graduated in 2007. So my first fall, I started a job in Salisbury, Maryland in 2007. So I've been doing this for so long, I don't really get nervous. I would say I was probably nervous the first night or two I anchored, only because it's all right, this is my camera and I tag out where, and the teleprompter person, do I trust them? Are they going to screw me over? So the first couple times I anchored, maybe I was a little bit nervous, but no, I don't think I ever second guessed it. I mean, I've been doing this for a while and I've had a good support system at the station. So it was pretty seamless, I would say. It was a unique situation because we started a sports department. My station didn't have sports.
Really?
Myself and my other anchor, Shane Wright, we started it. So they didn't have like a sportscast in the news. So they've been really pleased with our product because they haven't really had consistent sports coverage here. So yeah, it was a unique setup for sure.
Well, in that situation, I'm curious then about how much, obviously, you put a lot of time and effort back in Rhode Island, but for this, having to really, start from the ground level for the sports department, how important was that for you and, the other person you do with make sure, you're having a quality product right out of the gate?
Yeah, right. Because people are sort of sampling you. They're like, all right, what is this? At 21 past the hour, they have sports now. So yes, we needed to make sure we were buttoned up and good. I think the station did a good job of hiring 2 people with a lot of experience. So Shane was actually a news anchor at my station. He had done sports at a previous market. So he had done sports before. I obviously had done sports before. So it's not like they hired 2 22-year-old kids and were like, hey, figure this out. Like we knew what we were doing. So, and so far the results have been good. We've gotten a lot of viewer emails and calls saying that, they're so happy we have it back. It's a weird area for sports because there's so many transplants, right? There's so many people who move here because it's such a great place to live and because of the weather. There's people who retire here. There's a lot of people from the Northeast here. So in addition to people being Miami fans, because we're, an hour from Miami, you have Red Sox fans and Yankee fans and Patriot fans and Jets fans and a lot of people from the Northeast. So it's way more transient than New England, whereas I was broadcasting in Rhode Island. I knew everyone was a Patriot fan, right? By and large in Rhode Island. So it's sort of, I'm still trying to figure out college football is huge in the state of Florida. So it's like, I'm trying to figure out what people really care about. So like Florida, the Gators, they were ranked 10th in the country until they lost to Kentucky on Saturday. That's the big state school, but Gainesville's, 3 hours from here. So it's like getting used to the fact that school isn't close to our market. It's 3 hours away, but there's so many alums and so many people who grew up Florida fans that it's like, I'm not physically going to Florida. I haven't gone. Shane went to their opener, but we still have to like cover them from afar, if that makes sense, because people care about it. Whereas 3 hours from Rhode Island, I'd be in New York City. Yeah. So at that point, no one cares in New York City about the Boston team. So that, and Florida State the same way, right? Even further, that's, 4+ hours. So that is something I'm getting used to as well.
Well, I'm sure it helps. I'm sure it helps, makes it easier when the weather is much better and it's much more sunnier, which definitely
it was, that's awesome. And even yesterday, like it's a big golf community here. So like yesterday I got to interview Jack Nicklaus, other than Tiger Woods, or maybe even with Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer ever. He's just doing a golf clinic down the street at PGA National. We have a big PGA event here in February. We have a Champions Tour event in a month. We have the LPGA. Like most of the top golfers on the tour live here. I live in Palm Beach Gardens. Like a lot of them live in Jupiter, which is the next town over. So golf is big here, and I've become a big golf fan. So that's been cool. One of the weird things has been like the weather is so weird in September with the with storms. So we go to high school football games or college, and there's lightning delays all the time. And I just thought of that because last night on Monday Night Football, they had a lightning delay for the Chargers game. But it'll be sunny skies, and then storm will come in for 10 minutes, lightning. And then the rule is like, if there's lightning within 10 miles, you need to get everyone off the field for 30 minutes. So high school football is a crazy night because we bop around all the games trying to get as much action as we can. And then it's like, all right, this game has been delayed, and it throws your whole night off. So that's been a weird adjustment.
Well, before I let you go, I want to do my little challenge, my little bit, I guess you could call it, and it's the 1-word challenge. So what I will do is I'll try my best to give topics or phrases that have something to do with yourself and what you do. So just do your best to try to give at least 1 word or a sentence to that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sports journalism.
Sports journalism. I would say a great and rewarding field.
Andy Gresh.
Big, loud.
Rhode Island.
Home.
Stone Freeman.
Stone Freeman. Stone Freeman. The voice of the Rams. How about that?
URI Athletics.
URI Athletics. Keeney Gym in the Ryan Center.
Florida Weather.
Florida Weather. Great.
South Kingstown.
South Kingstown. Home.
And then Yianni Kourakis.
This is like, what are you, my therapist? This is like very hard. What do I think of when I think of myself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I do this all the time. I ask this.
Or my brand? What's that?
Whatever comes to mind when you think about yourself.
I guess hopefully a good husband, father, and friend and broadcaster.
Well, sir, I thank you for your valuable time this week and coming on this and doing for me. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. Say hello
Yeah,
to your parents and your sister.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely will. And then before we go, I just want to briefly say I usually post something about this on social media, so I don't want to be like, oh, why am I getting tagged randomly?
Oh no, that's cool.
No, yeah. So I wish you all the best, and for everyone out there who watched and listened to this week, if you enjoy this, leave a like, subscribe, follow, share, and in the words of Johnny Carson, I bid you all a heartfelt good night.